Welcome to wesleygospel.com. I'm going to do a full review of Financial Freedom by Grant Sabatier. I have to say that overall, this is the most comprehensive, useful, up-to-date book on personal finance I've read to date. It was published 2019 by a philosophy grad um, and by a millennial who's, I think, maybe 2 or 3 years younger than me. The guy saved and accumulated $1 million in 5 years. It's incredible. His um, his presentation of the financial uh, philosophy is extremely orderly. It cascades in the proper direction, unlike many of personal finance books that are kind of just um, sort of thrown in a sort of a uh, salad. They're disorderly. Um, that's not the way with this one. He doesn't put the cart before the horse, as many finance books do. He has what I call the order of priority in personal finance. He has that sense. All right, so he talks about earning income, then he talks about increasing income. Afterwards, he talks a little bit about budgeting, and then he will talk about investing. And then finally, he will talk about retiring. So he's got his priorities right. Um, it's it is a chore to get through it. Um, I would never suggest anybody read it without an audiobook helping them along the way. Um, but it is extremely lucid and clear. Um, the only thing I would have to say is that it would be great if there was Bible verses all over the place, but it wouldn't be hard to find those Bible verses if you just simply, read it alongside the Word on Finances by Larry Burkett, and then you can insert those verses in there. But this is really, really, I mean, this is the answer when it comes to mastering money. This guy's got it. He's got it figured out. And uh, he also ends on a really good, the last chapter, really good, sobering note. Um, and that is humbling and also at the same time um, peace inducing. And if I can find it, I will. Yes, page 311. Um, Success is not about money, it's about peace. So mastering money is really about getting to the point where you feel a sense of peace and you don't feel anxiety and worry about money anymore. You feel like you have mastered the situation and there is a sense of relief from financial anxiety once you reach that point. He says in 311, uh, the moment I had $10,000 in the bank and realized that I had escaped living paycheck to paycheck, the stress started to disappear. And that's it. I mean, and there's another point in the audiobook, at least, where he says that it's not about having $1 million. It's about starting off small and relieving yourself of that financial stress as you build your money pile, as you build your savings account. Uh, One of the things that he has helped me to see is that my understanding of investments was very premature. Um, in my personal case, I need to focus on building a bigger savings account than I currently have right now. After I reach a certain threshold in my savings account, then I can start thinking about investing in ETFs in a Roth IRA. A lot of these personal finance books do not make this point very clear because they are confined to the idea that you are only having one single stream of income, a very low level, lower middle class paycheck that you're having to slice up into different directions and um, and then put little tiny little ration out tiny little amounts into the ETF and the Roth IRA. Whereas with Grant, he says, look, that whole idea is a problem to start with. Successful financial growth does not come from rationing out a small portion of the paycheck into a mutual fund or ETF in the Roth IRA through compound interest over 30 years. He's familiar with that. He's familiar with the idea of the Roth IRA with an ETF and a mutual fund with compound interest over 30 or 40 years. He's very familiar with that idea. He spends a whole chapter on it. But one of the very clear things he comes through saying is that's not good enough for you to just confine your idea to that, as if that was all you needed to address intellectually about this stuff. He spends lots of time trying to get you to think of 1099s, side hustles, side jobs, side gigs, take advantage of the new gig economy because of being able to do remote work through these money making opportunities on the internet, and take advantage of these opportunities. Don't just confine yourself like they did in the 90s and the 80s to a low level, lower middle class, or even just middle class paycheck in a single source of income. No, have two, have three or more sources of income. This is really, really central to his idea. This is what differentiates him from the mainstream Michelle Kagan's and these mainstream books on personal finance. This is what really sets this guy apart. He's the side hustle guy. And to him, the title of his book, Financial Freedom, A Proven Path to All the Money You Will Ever Need. In other words, side hustles. Now, once you get to this point where the side hustles and the disciplined saving, and when he says saving, he means 40, 50, 60% of the total income from the multiple streams being socked away in just a normal non-interest savings account. Once you reach 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 100,000 of just cold hard cash in the savings account. Now, at these stages, you can realistically start thinking about, maybe I should start setting money into the ETF, the mutual fund, in the Roth IRA. This guy, I mean, didn't that just sound like it made sense right there? Isn't that better? Isn't that a better sounding idea than taking a $40,000 or a $50,000, or let's say you're lucky and you make $70,000? Even so, isn't that a better idea than setting aside $3,000 or $6,000 a year into a Roth IRA mutual fund and hoping for the best? What he's saying is that you should build a pile like those old 1800s guys do. Really build a pile of money, non-interest, savings account money, and through multiple streams of income. And then, not to put the cart before the horse, then we can start analyzing which funds you want to put into a Roth IRA for retirement. You know, so much of this stuff, what's so perplexing about it, is understanding that there's all these names, all these different kinds of names for these financial products. The 529 college plan, the Roth IRA, the 401k, the all this stuff. They make it so complicated. This comes out of the world of banking. They make it so complicated. Uh, and after you've read a couple of books on this, you're still sitting there scratching your head. The chain of activities is not set up orderly. So I just want to say that he's thorough and he's setting things, he's not putting the cart before the horse. He tells you how to make more money than you currently are now. He emphasizes making more money than you currently are now through side hustles, gigs, entrepreneurship. But he puts a stronger emphasis on side hustles than on full-time entrepreneurship for the simple reason that full-time entrepreneurship is something that you have to grow into it. You have to find out that your side hustle is successful over the long term before you can reasonably move it into the full time. So it doesn't he's very good at coaching you on that. He's like, don't jump the gun, don't quit your day job. Just work at home, work your day job at home, and then side hustle another thing on the side or two other things on the side if you can to increase the cash flow coming in. He's very big on blogging income, which might be kind of perplexing for most people. And I did find a book on that, the Startup series by Entrepreneur Press. It's called Start Your Own Blogging Business. And then it says, generate income from advertisers, subscribers, merchandising, and more. So that's going to be my next project after this. A lot of these, you might say, well, what am I going to blog about? I don't know. Find something you're interested in, really, really interested in. Find something that you can read about a ton and then write about a ton. And then blog like Charles Dickens. And get to the point where now you're going to be putting ads and marketing pieces into your articles. That will lead to money coming into your bank account. He says that a lot of people just start personal finance blogs, and they write articles on personal finance, because you know why? Because nobody wants to talk about this. They're embarrassed. There's a level of embarrassment about this. He mentions this in the last chapter. I'm an unfiltered individual. I have little to no embarrassment talking about anything with anybody. I think all conversation about everything is useful. But a lot of people don't feel that way about personal finance, hence the emphasis on the word personal, private, etc., because they got face to save, they got a reputation to uphold. Most of them are living loan-based lifestyles in order to keep up with the Joneses, so nobody really comes out and has money conversations with people, so they don't really ever get anywhere. They're frustrated financially, try to distract themselves from the problem, and they don't get anywhere. Oh, here he goes. Page 308. Money is too taboo in this world. We don't talk about it enough with the people around us, with our families, friends, romantic partners, and coworkers. We are embarrassed or unhappy with our salaries, or we are scared of our boss, so we don't talk about our salaries with our coworkers, possibly leaving money on the table. We are afraid to ask for help when we don't know the right answer or when we're deep in debt. Yeah. So what happens? You have to write these personal finance books, read these personal finance books, listen to personal finance audiobooks, or go on a blog of somebody else who's writing about personal finance in order to get your head around this stuff. So there is a niche for this, and riches are in the niches. There is a need for reading and writing about personal finance, and these things need to be kept current because tiny little details change over the years. As things become more modern, now you have jobs like digital marketing and website design as a niche, and there's a riches in that niches. And in the year 2030 and the year 2040, personal finance will take on a lot of these old principles will continue, but they will transmute and change a little bit as new technologies and new categories of work start to develop. So personal finance is a thing that people are always going to be reading and writing about because of the changing nature of business. Grant Sabatier is incredible. This guy is a true rags to riches hero. He started off with $2 in the bank, living in his basement with his parents, and had absolutely no guidance from them. And he made $1 million in 5 years because he said to himself, look, I'm a philosophy grad. This is one talent I have. I can read books. And he read like, I don't know how many books on personal finance. And he figured it out. So one of the things, I'm just going to kind of overview his order of priorities in personal finance here. Firstly, the first chapter, he comes out right and talks about retirement. He talks about the IRA. He talks about this a lot. The IRA, the Roth IRA, save that, get that Roth IRA going for 30 years. He talks about that a lot. He talks about saving for retirement. Almost the whole book is about this. You might say, but I thought it was about side hustles. Yes, it's about side hustles. That's the direct cause of increasing money. And when you look at Proverbs, it's the same thing. It's just expressed this way through the principle of diligence. The hand of the diligent maketh rich. Proverbs 10:4. That's how you make money, by looking for all different sorts of money-making opportunities and taking advantage of those opportunities. And not confining it to just one job, one paycheck, and one desk. Being a slave. You don't want to be a slave, you want to be free. You want to be a freeman. Therefore, you can't be a wage slave. You can't be a paycheck slave, or you will be living paycheck to paycheck, no matter how good you are at budgeting and categorizing your money. You're still only budgeting and categorizing a paycheck to paycheck existence. You might say, well, I've got the ability to do things that other people don't. Well, everybody has different levels of success, don't they? But if you feel like you're anxious, if you feel like you don't have peace with your in your relationship with money, some improvements need to be made. And he helps you to find those pathways. And so in this sense, this is one of the best self-help books I've ever seen. It's a lot like Getting On in the World by William Matthews, but it's up to date. Of course, like I said, it would be a whole lot better if it had that Larry Burkett influence with a lot of Bible verses in it. He definitely leads you to believe that business income, paycheck income plus side hustle income is superior, is the most superior way of making money, not investment income. Investment income is to be considered secondary. It is to be considered secondary in importance because of its volatility. Now, while he does believe in buy and hold investing over a 30-year stretch, he does believe in Roth IRAs and mutual funds and ETFs. He does believe in that. But when he compares that with the type of income that you can derive from a paycheck or a side hustle, he will side with the paycheck and the side hustle every time, because there's less volatility through business income than there is through ETF income. There's less volatility. You're dealing with employment income. That's stable, much more stable. Now, there is volatility. If you lose the gig ends and you got to go find another one. That's true. But there's a predictability about it that doesn't exist with stock market income. Stock market income is a form of income. Stock market income is a form of income. But it will only mean something if it's not a rationing out money type situation. And unfortunately, a lot of young men are pressured to go into the stock market through this rationing out, paycheck to paycheck, rationing out money into an IRA account. That's no way to invest. They're told to invest that way. He makes you see that that's no way to invest. You're putting the cart before the horse if you're doing that. You're acting like an investor, but you're not making enough money to be an investor yet. So hold your horses. Focus on building out a huge savings account first. And if you can do that in a stable and secure way, then maybe you can invest someday. Well, you might say, but I've only got so much time to invest. Well, money appreciates quite rapidly. He makes it very clear that money appreciates quite rapidly in an ETF and an Roth IRA when you put large amounts into it. It accelerates at bullet speed. So if I was to take $100,000 and stick it into a growing ETF in a Roth IRA, okay, I just transferred it out of a savings account and dropped it in there, that would grow very rapidly. Okay. So when we're talking about volatility, when we're talking about rationing out tiny amounts of a single paycheck, this is not a stable way to build a pile of money. And this is what I think a lot of people are misled into doing with the whole 401k concept and the company match. They're only socking away $6,000 a year when they really should be thinking more in terms of 50,000, 100,000, or $200,000 going into that retirement account. Well, how are you going to get there? You got to break the paradigm. You got to break this idea of not having side hustles. This idea of only having one single paycheck and rationing money into a retirement account. This is what his whole perspective is based off of. Don't do that anymore. His whole perspective is focus on figuring out this side hustle thing and working from home. Get that done first. His whole thing is get at home, work at home, get those side hustles coming in, and you will see through experience that the side hustle money accumulates in a much more stable, predictable, and non-volatile way. And you might even get to the point where you would just prefer to save money in a savings account than to mess around with the stock market at all. And some people get to that point. They get to the point where they like side hustle income so much that they don't even play with the stock market. But then he will go to say, almost like you get in the parable of the talents, don't do that. The stock market can help you to grow, but you can get to the point where you can get complacent about the stock market because you're so confident by this stable, predictable money that comes in from your side hustle income. So then it becomes this either or thing where you're debating whether or not to just rely on your side hustle money stacking up in your savings account or to play around with the retirement account. He says it's not an either or, it's a both and. You just need to first off focus on the side hustle income. Focus on the side hustle income and stack up tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars in a savings account first, then start moving into taking percentages out of that and putting that larger amounts of money into those ETFs and those Roth IRAs. So you might think, but in the service of time, don't worry about time, because the side hustle income will take care of the time problem. He does make a really good point in that time and money have a relationship with one another. This is true, but unfortunately, in the old school model where you have one single paycheck of a 50K or a 60K paycheck, and you're rationing out $6,000 a year into a 30 or 40 year ETF, the idea with that is that your money's never going to grow unless you do it that way. What he's saying is that that's very volatile for you to not have any side hustle income whatsoever. Furthermore, he's saying that the side hustle income should be the only source for investing money in the future. But it is more important to save money than it is to invest it. So get to a point where you can actually max out an FDIC savings account or max these things out. But Once you get into that, don't get into a rut where you say, I don't want to play with the stock market. Get to the point where you take a portion of that savings account, and even just a portion of $250,000 would be substantial enough to experience rapid financial growth once you drop that 25K or whatever it is, or 50K into that ETF. So he got me thinking about this in a different way, and it really started to make sense. And so I thought about, man, it'd be nice to have several Roth IRAs down the road when I was, 10 years older from now, and could get maybe, um, maybe as many as 5 or 10 Roth IRA accounts for the compound interest issue, and then put large, beefy amounts of money taken out of the savings account, which was built by the side hustle income, and put it into the Inspire ETFs, which I riffed on several months back. These are BIBL, BLES, FDLS, and GLRY. These are, and I would get them into many Roth IRA accounts. I don't know how many Roth IRAs you can have in Schwab, but I would imagine, if you could open as many as up to 5 or 10 different Roth IRA accounts, um, uh, you could accumulate the compound interest without having the tax penalty. So you could really get the most out of your money in time. But again, all of this is after side hustle income is building a money pile inside of the savings account. This is really key with him, and he really makes you think about that before you just lose yourself in the world of Roth IRAs, mutual funds, and financial advisors. You can get lost in that, and you're stuck in this rationing situation, and it's not positive. Uh, let's see here. What other things? He talks about avoiding luxury. He talks about, even though you're building a huge money pile, still live the life of simplicity. Don't make your happiness be derived from buying things. Although sometimes buying things could temporarily make you happy, he does admit that. Family and friends are more important than money, and if it was Larry Burkett talking, he would definitely say the Bible and God are more important than money. Cannot serve both God and money, Jesus said. You cannot serve both. We could put it another way. You cannot serve both theology and personal finance. It has to be balanced out. If you just go into nothing but Grant Sabatier for the rest of your life, you'll lose your relationship with God. There's just no Bible in it. The whole thing has to be balanced out. And once you've mastered money, give it up. Just stop the personal finance. Just go back into theology again. Fill up your heart, fill up your mind with theology for the rest of your life. Bible, 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 Bible. That's where the values are at. That's where the meaning is at. That's where people, and unfortunately, there's a part where Grant Sabatier gets into some classism, and I don't like it. Listen to this. Page 312, once I reached financial independence at 30 and came up for air, I started searching for other people who'd also reached financial independence before the age of 35. I was delighted to find a small but growing group of people I'm now happy to call my friends. You see, this is what happens when you throw theology out the window. Theology in God and spirituality allow you to embrace all classes of people who have a relationship with God. Your values are therefore set in a more far-reaching, trans-class, you're above class, and you're just, everybody in the body of Christ of all classes can be your friends. Where your interests are, where your money is, there where your heart will be also. Oh, wait a second. But so also wherever your interests are, there your heart will be also. Basically, chapter 12, I think, sums it all up, the whole book. He basically says, if you want to have financial independence, you need to have gigs and you need to have Roth IRAs. You need to have gigs and you need to have Roth IRAs. Roth IRAs, gigs will help you to increase your income. Roth IRAs will eventually help you to increase your income even more. And that consistently hammering into gigs and consistently hammering into Roth IRAs and being disciplined about it and measuring your progress will eventually lead to financial independence. God bless you out there. This is John with WesleyGospel.com.